Welcome to F1 Blogs. We're your hosts diving deep into the big stories in Formula One.
That's right. And today, well, it's hard to ignore Max Verstappen and Red Bull, isn't it? They seem unstoppable.
They really do. But, is it really as simple as just total dominance? We're looking at some insights today, actually, from right here on F1 Blogs that kind of question that.
Yeah, it's a fascinating discussion. It asks, is the Red Bull car truly miles ahead, or is something else going on?
Exactly. We want to unpack whether the car itself is the dominant force, how much Verstappen contributes, and, interestingly, this idea that maybe less improvement from Red Bull could be, well, better for F1.
It sounds a bit strange at first, doesn't it? But there's some logic there we can get into.
Okay, so first up, this idea that the Red Bull car might not be, the absolute be-all and end-all. The pundit we're discussing drew a comparison to Alonso at Aston Martin.
That's a good parallel. The idea that maybe the car's baseline performance isn't quite where the results suggest it is.
Right, like Alonso is dragging that Aston Martin higher than maybe it should have been. Is Verstappen doing the same? Is he elevating the Red Bull beyond its inherent pace?
It's possible. The analysis looked across the board, slow corners, medium, fast, straights.
And the conclusion wasn't, wow, dominant everywhere.
Not exactly. More like, it's a really good car, very well-rounded, but maybe not crushing the opposition in every single area. It's described as, not so bad overall, which is interesting phrasing for a championship leader.
Not so bad. Yeah, that definitely catches your attention. And this ties into what often happens early in the race weekend, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The point was made about Fridays, those long-run simulations. Sometimes they look, well, a bit worrying for Red Bull.
High tire degradation, right?
Yeah.
You see that data and think, maybe here's a weakness.
Precisely. It suggests the car might chew through its tires over a race distance.
But then Sunday comes.
And it's a different story. Verstappen especially seems to have this incredible knack for managing his tires, often much better than, say, the Mercedes guys or even Piastri.
So what gives? Is it the driver being, superhuman with tire saving? Or is the car actually much gentler on its tires in race trim than the Friday data lets on?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's hard to separate the two.
The pundit definitely gives a lot of credit to Verstappen, though, acknowledging his immense talent as maybe the key difference maker.
Oh, completely. There's this real sense of awe sometimes, especially when Verstappen is pushed, when he really has to fight for it. You see his skill shine through.
We saw that in qualifying, didn't we? That pole lap was incredibly close.
Super tight. And the toe from Perez was mentioned as being pretty crucial.
Yeah, gaining that extra bit on the straight. A toe, just for anyone needing a reminder, is basically slipstreaming, tucking in behind another car to cut through the air resistance. It gives you a speed boost.
Definitely helped. But it wasn't just the toe. The analysis of the final corner was really insightful.
How so?
Comparing Verstappen and Piastri. Piastri might have carried a fraction more speed into the corner apex, but Verstappen's exit. His traction was visibly better. He just hooked it up and got the power down cleaner without that little bit of wheel spin, maybe.
And that made the difference. Tiny margins, but enough for pole. Incredible driving.
It really highlights that Verstappen factor.
Okay, so this leads to maybe the most surprising part of the discussion. This pundit expressed a hope, almost a wish, that Red Bull doesn't find big improvements for their car.
Yeah, that's the bit that makes you pause, right? As a fan, you usually want your team to be faster, stronger.
Of course. So why wish against improvement?
The thinking is about the spectacle, about the excitement for us watching. If the Red Bull isn't completely dominant, it forces Verstappen to really show his magic.
Ah, I see. So a slightly less perfect car actually highlights the driver's brilliance more.
That's the idea. We get these amazing drives where he's clearly on the limit, extracting everything. If the car was, say, half a second faster than everyone else,
Then he just disappears up the road. It becomes predictable, less exciting.
Exactly. There's this fear, this worry, that if Red Bull unlocks another chunk of performance, we go back to those unchallenged lights-to-flag wins.
And while that's impressive in its own way, it maybe doesn't make for the best Sunday afternoon viewing for everyone.
Right. The pundit basically said they'd rather see Verstappen have to scrap for it a bit, because that's when we see the absolute best of him. It creates those moments that make you go, wow.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Let's shift gears a bit. There was also talk about Verstappen's mood after the race. Seemed a bit off. Less talkative in the press conference.
Yeah, that was noted. And the pundit linked it to the current climate with the FIA, specifically the rules around criticizing stewards or decisions.
Ah, the updated code of conduct, where drivers have to be really careful what they say or face penalties.
Precisely. The suggestion was that Verstappen might be deliberately holding back, perhaps frustrated, maybe even as a subtle protest against feeling gagged.
And the pundit, maybe reflecting a wider media view, found this frustrating too, because you lose that raw insight from the drivers.
Yes. The feeling is that these rules, while maybe well-intentioned, can stifle genuine opinions on race events. You want to hear what the driver really thinks happened.
But the argument made was that the real losers aren't just the media missing a quote or the driver feeling restricted.
Right. The perspective was that it's the fans who lose out most. You, the people watching, want to hear that unfiltered perspective, especially after a controversial moment or a tough race.
Yeah, definitely. You want the inside line.
And there is this undertone that maybe the FIA is focusing its energy on policing comments while perhaps bigger issues exist, leading to this general frustration among drivers.
So even the guy winning almost everything feels a bit constrained publicly. Interesting dynamic.
It really is. It adds another layer to everything going on.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Pull the main threads together from this F1 blogs discussion.
Sure. So, point 1. Is the Red Bull car truly dominant? Or are there underlying weaknesses masked by the driver? Still a bit of an open question.
Point 2. The Verstappen factor is undeniable. His talent is seen as a huge, maybe even the defining part of their success right now.
Yeah. Then, point 3. This counterintuitive wish for Red Bull not to get too much faster, all in the name of better racing and showcasing driver skill.
Which is fascinating. And finally, point 4. These ongoing tensions around FIA regulations and driver expression impacting what we hear from people like Verstappen.
It paints a really complex picture, doesn't it? It's not just about having the fastest car.
Not at all. And that brings us to a final thought for you to ponder. What's actually better for Formula One? Is it seeing a team and driver reach absolute peak performance, total dominance, as a display of ultimate achievement?
Or is it better to have a closer field, even if it means the potentially best combination isn't winning by a mile, where individual brilliance in traffic, on strategy, under pressure, really gets to shine?
What does your preference tell you about what you love most about F1? Is it the engineering marvel or the human drama and skill?
Something to think about as we watch the rest of the season unfold.
Well, that concludes our deep dive, based on the insights from right here on F1 Blogs. We hope you enjoyed it, maybe gave you some new perspectives.
Yeah, I hope it was interesting.
If you like this discussion, please do subscribe to F1 Blogs if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell too, so you don't miss our next deep dive.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for watching F1 Blogs. We'll see you next time.